Hey guys, welcome to the Insiders of Omaha podcast. I'm Christian Morrison. This is Tyson Compton. We're excited to bring this to you. Thanks for watching, viewing, and subscribing.
Hey, Insiders of Omaha is a one-of-a-kind podcast here in Omaha, bringing you an inside look of the movers and shakers in Omaha and what they're like and how they think, so you can learn from them as well as get to know them and have a personal time that you usually don't get an opportunity to have. And we look forward to you guys listening.
Heck yeah, let's go. Boom.
First, you want to introduce who these people are?
Sure.
I think it's pretty cool that we have Christian's parents in here who are pseudo clients of mine. Pseudo clients of mine. Like
It's going to be there forever.
Fair weather, like, I want to see a house, but
Or 15.
yeah, and now they've just moved down the street without telling me. But
Brutal, man.
savage.
Real estate agent's worst nightmare right there.
It'll happen.
But
It'll be bigger.
One thing, my huge respect for as husband and wife couples that are able to work together at a really high clip. So I've just always been really impressed about the dynamic that's allowed that to happen. I'd love to hear more about that.
I'll let you start.
No, you go ahead, Lev.
Well, we're married, and
How many years?
so we've been married for 33 years.
It'll be 33 in March.
33 in March, and we started working together approximately 7 years ago when we were empty
Full-time,
nesters.
yep.
Yeah, full time. She'd always been involved in the business with me, but I kind of grew up in the business in food service since I started waiting tables and bartending in 1988, 89, and that's where we met.
Yep.
It was in a restaurant called Garfield's Restaurant and Pub
In Edmond, Oklahoma.
in Edmond, Oklahoma. And then we, in 94, as I was going through school, 94 is when we got involved with Sonic Drive-In. And we were partners in a store at a very young age in 94, and then progressed on and worked for the corporate side. She was an integral part of that, but raising kids at home. And we had 4 kids, this being one of them. And
Favorite one, I get it. Yeah.
the favorite, yeah. But yeah, we started working in a business, like I said, 7 years ago.
Wow.
And about the time that we progressed from supervising multiple drive-ins and running multiple drive-ins, where we bought we were the majority partners 7-8 years ago almost now in restaurants in South Dakota, Iowa, and Nebraska. So
I was actually telling Tyson this morning, someone that, if people know you, don't know a lot of your story, is people just look at like a business owner. They own restaurants. You know what I mean? They don't realize the grind that you both went through.
But him especially.
Yeah, him especially in the work side of it,
Yeah.
to get to owning your own restaurants. It took you 22 years
yeah, 22 years
of trying basically the whole time. Right?
Yeah.
Before the 7 started. Before 7 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. So the tip of the iceberg has been the 7 years. So
Yeah.
what was the catalyst that got you transitioning from the corporate side to the ownership side?
money.
Right.
But what took you to the next point?
So what took us there? You could probably explain that.
Well, we've lived all over the country. We've lived, let's see, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas.
7 or 8 states.
Yeah, a ton of states. And we ended up to me, I think that the biggest catalyst was we moved from Louisiana to South Bend, Indiana, freezing our asses off up there. And I mean, quite literally.
Just a lot of snow.
And it was the dynamics of it, of what happened, how it happened with Sonic. He went up there to open the market, the beginning of 2008, when all the stuff hit the fan. And it was probably the most stressful time in our marriage. I would say we had 4 teenagers. We'd ripped our oldest son I homeschooled my kids. And so the oldest one was in school. He was the only one that went to school. And it was middle of his junior year. And ripped him out of that environment, put him up there, which it's not that it was a terrible necessarily environment. It was just so extreme different than what we were used to. And that right there, I think a whole lot happened during that time that pushed us to go, okay, we got to do our own thing. I mean, both of us, it was just hours and hours of talking and trying to figure it out. And after 3 years, we left there, he went to work for a franchisee in Colorado to help him train his kids, basically, to do it. And that guy knew all along that our goal was to get our own restaurants.
The guy in Colorado.
Yep. And so we're grateful for that, because we wouldn't have I mean, most people, if they knew you were going to do that, they wouldn't let you come help. So, and we were there 5 years, I think, in Colorado, and it was a healing place for me. Pueblo, West Colorado. Who would have thought? But it was so healing.
It's a great place to live.
It was.
Yeah. You said
The weather
healing
was
place.
great.
Yeah.
Oh, just after Indiana and him opening the Chicago market and going back, we didn't see him. It was stressful. There's just a lot. But just to go there, and the weather was so great. I remember Christian and Jack and I went first because he had to open a restaurant. And our two oldest kids, Daniel and Lizzie, stayed back and helped him open that last restaurant. And we went and we were like, oh, we thought it was like paradise because the sun was out and the weather was great.
We were in Colorado, but you think Colorado's like winter, but where we were was amazing.
It was
weather.
amazing.
Southern Colorado,
yeah.
you have 300 days of sunshine a year.
It was high desert. It was great. So it was, for me, it was healing. It was like mentally, emotionally healing.
Yeah.
So from that time, so.
And that, how did that change your guys' dynamic to be able to kind of trust the next steps then? I mean, if you're dealing with healing and all of a sudden you're like doing a new chapter.
That came about kind of interesting, how you actually got into the stores. One thing I will say is his skill set, my dad's skill set, is very unique in the fact that what he kind of always did, maybe not always on purpose, is he would take restaurants that were not making any money and make them profitable. Which is like one of the most valuable skill sets, especially in restaurants.
He's a fixer.
Yeah, he's like a fixer of the bottom line. Basically.
I don't even need to talk. You guys are just talking.
We got you.
This
I got
is
your
great.
back.
We got it.
But it is like something you may not say about yourself or even see about yourself, but you definitely are. That's what you're very good at.
And that's usually what we're attracted to, which is interesting.
Fixing a problem.
Well, I think another catalyst would be the fact that, in operations, that we were in operations for so long and we were limited partners. We weren't the majority partner, right? And so we had this goal together of, okay, we're going to grind through it and fight through it, like you said, and just working 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks.
You missed a lot with the kids.
I missed a lot in their young age because restaurants are demanding. We were open till midnight or later, and so we had a goal in mind to get there. And I think that and most people, when you put that goal in front of them, is it attainable? Is it really out there? And we just kept fighting through it and said, no matter what, we're going to make it. No matter what, we're going to do it. No matter what the setbacks are. And there was setback after setback after setback. When we moved to Chicago, I think we had a partnership formed with SRI, with Sonic Restaurants, to be 50-50 with them going into the market. And they backed out of it. He said, hey, the economy's turned. We're going to sell these stores off. And there's a huge setback because we had 14 stores in the pipeline to open. And, but you keep moving on and you fight through it. I think you will get there if your mind's set on it. And that's where we had that goal together.
And I think too, we had in my heart, and I know it was kind of what drove us, was we were going to have a family business.
Right.
It was like this mindset of, we're going to have a family business. The kids are going to be involved. It's going to happen. We're going to build it and turn it over to them. And then 25 years later, we think Lizzie and Christian are going to be involved, and really Christian. And we thought he's the perfect, he's got the right mindset, All of a sudden, I remember the day that Christian looked at, he said, I'm not going to do that. And like, we both were like, after 25, you think about that, 20 something years of your life driving you towards something. And then you're like, oh, okay.
Well, I think
well, I got you there at least. You're
no.
I think too, the kids, we had them involved in the business all at 14 years old,
so they were
working
done,
in the stores, and they saw what I was going through at a young age. I mean, when they were at a young age, they saw, hey, I haven't seen Dad in several years.
They're like, why do I want to do that?
Why do I want to work all the time? I need to find something easier to do, right? And so,
but it wasn't a bad thing. They said no. I mean, it just was like, oh, okay. So we have to change how, and it took a minute to realize that. So,
right.
Quick question: How many stores do you guys have under management right now?
So we own and manage 17 Sonic drive-ins and one on the border Mexican restaurant.
And
about to be two.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, we say that now. It's coming to Omaha.
Papillion.
Papillion, new restaurant, new Mexican restaurant.
In June, beginning of June, I believe.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a chain.
It is.
Yep.
Right? But high quality Mexican.
It's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like
It's great
it.
Tex-Mex. What attracted us to On the Border was the food. Food's excellent.
Yeah.
Almost everything's made from scratch.
from scratch.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Kitchen. The Christian's actually worked in the kitchen a few times, so he knows the business.
Yeah.
And it's a great business. We're excited about being in Papillion for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we know Omaha does a great job of supporting new businesses for sure. So, and they love to eat out. So I'm sure I hope that endeavor goes really well. Then you can open up one up north, so I don't get past Dodge.
So you have
much,
to drive,
yeah. But I'll make a trip for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from Colorado to, I kind of remember how this happened, but from Colorado to the South Dakota stores, because the first stores you bought were in South Dakota. How did you find those stores, and like how did that actually connect to buy them?
That's you.
We were, your brother Daniel, our oldest son, went to school at South Dakota State, and we had kind of driven by those stores, and I said, and drove through them, and we contacted Sonic and said, hey, we liked Rapid City specifically on the west side of the state. It's a beautiful part of the state, the Black Hills and Mount Rushmore. I contacted Sonic, and Sonic said, yeah, we could use a good operator there because those stores just aren't operated well. The people that I'm still partners with just restaurant wasn't their forte. They were in construction and hotels. So they're limited partners in those, and we just worked a deal with them and said, hey, we're going to come in, we want to do this. And
They weren't for sale.
they weren't for sale. No, but we made the proposal to them because there was 3 restaurants. We built another one in 2016.
Yeah.
2016, we built another one. But we ended up purchasing those, the majority of those from them. They're my partners in it and in the real estate as well. And then On the Border was there. It's there in Rapid City. We ended up buying that out from our partners as well because we were helping out. We were helping to get that store back to where it was out of the red. It was in the red for several years, and they were trying to figure out how to get it better. So,
And they're not involved in that at all.
No.
So they're completely out of that.
So completely different dynamic of decision making changed. You guys came in, wasn't for sale.
yeah.
Hey, let's be partners. And now all of a sudden they go from being a general partner, a majority owner, to being a limited partner, making no decisions.
Right.
How was that conversation, and how did that mature through that process when you're continually evaluating the business? And you're like, we need more say. How does that even happen?
Well, I mean, you work that out. I think for us, we have to work it out in the beginning. It's like I know this business. Let's form our operating agreement and state that in the beginning of the operating agreement, right? So as a managing member of an LLC, you kind of come in and you say, hey, listen, you need to put that in writing. You're the one that's going to have to come in and make the calls, or I am.
You make your deal on the way in,
and you
for sure.
And I've learned this over the years is that you do definitely make your deals on the way in. Because once you're in it, say you get into the deal, it starts making more money. It's more profitable. Then they're going to say, whoa, we'll take this. Yeah. Keep bringing it on. We'll take this. And it's, but it's beneficial for everybody, right? If it's better, if the, cash flow is better out of the restaurants and so on, it's beneficial for all
Because
partners.
their old 100% made them less than their new 40%.
Right.
Once it's
Well,
profitable.
and technically we had partners coming into it that we had backing to buy them.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then when Bryant sat down and talked to the family, they were like, well, we'll just stay in, instead, if you guys want to entertain that. So it was easier, cleaner, we thought, on our side.
Yeah, we had brought
to
in
do that.
we brought in some investors that want a little bit more chunk of the pie to come into it. It felt like we were at Shark Tank when we were talking to those guys.
right?
They keep negotiating up. But
Private equity stuff, or
no, just a couple of
Bankers.
Colorado bankers. Yeah,
cool.
that wanted in it.
But it's good to have a couple options instead of one. It's
Absolutely.
much better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What would you guys say is each of your strengths? So you start 7 years ago, committed, and you're like, now how do I get plugged into this in a big way?
Well, okay. So I homeschooled, I taught dance, I was Pilates, and did all this stuff. I started out when we were young, had to clean houses because I just needed the money, And so I think I've always done stuff. Christian was saying that the other day. He was like, Mom always did something. She couldn't stand just staying at home. It kind of drove me crazy a little bit, which I commend people who do it, But I think it's how I think too, because I would constantly ask him questions about things and wanting to know about people, and I really gear myself towards my gut. I feel everything in my gut. We were just learning about that the other day with that thing we took. But I don't know. For me, I worry. So I'm the one who I worry at night. I'll say, okay, what about the legal side of this? Are we taking care of our employees enough? What benefits do we need to add to that? We need to put, like right now, we're changing payroll companies, and that's going to pull a lot of things where we have an onboarding system here. We have a daily pay system here. We have all these different things. We're pulling it all under one just to make things easier. So I think like that, more organization. How do we put things in order and stuff like that? And Brian's like, or I'll come up with an idea. I have these big dreams. I'm like, okay, well, we need to do this and this and this. And Brian's like, oh, Jesus. Okay, bring that back down. We've got to figure out how to do it first before we go out and just do it. You know, so I would say I think like that. Like I dream a lot. I don't know. But I kind of drive him crazy with that sometimes.
You're kind of like my partner when I came into this. We had a partner as well, Cultural Management.
Yep.
And he's a big thinker and will open up restaurants just left and right. And I'm let's fix what we have. Let's narrow down the operations to make what we have much better. Right. And have a better organization within the restaurants we have. Then eventually we'll grow. She would have already had 7 more restaurants open.
It's true.
And probably had to close half of them,
and close a few of them on the way. Like, that didn't work. Let's get rid of that. You know, and which is financially not real sound. But I think we complement each other in that way. From an operator to, you know, what's the best way we can fix operations and improve what we have with the people that we have. And then,
What do you think? Would you be where you're at without that in your life, or vice versa?
Without
that kind of thing,
without each other.
Yeah.
No, I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at, because I think Amy's, you know, I said, hey, we're going to go here and we're going to move here. This is what we're going to do. And I had to say that occasionally. And she's like, but listen, here's the reality of it. So she puts everything in check for me. And I think it's a check and balance. And it's a good partnership to have. And I will say this: people say, well, don't be partners with people you are related to. And I say to them, be partners with somebody you absolutely know them. And you know their strengths and weaknesses. You know how they have, and you trust them. Yeah. And that's a vital part of
you enjoy being around.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't always enjoy being around.
Because if you have to, this is true.
That's part of marriage.
But like, if you can't sit down at a table, because you're going to have problems, you're going to argue. I mean, even partnerships, if you can't sit down at a table and work it out, then you shouldn't do it. You know, so.
Well, you talked about Greg a little bit, your partner. Talk about the transition coming into Omaha, how that kind of came into be. This is kind of a cool story.
Greg, I've known since, 2013 or so. And as a franchisee with Sonic, I had met him and talked to him a few times. And to be quite honest, we I think Sonic approached us at first about what markets do you want, because we had said, hey, we want to expand.
Yep.
They talked to us about Minnesota, North Dakota.
And what was it?
I don't remember.
St. Louis. Anyway, and then through Nebraska out there. And my statement to Sonic was always, hey, those are great markets, but I'm tired of the cold weather.
Yeah.
We're a very seasonal business, right?
I was pissed.
So I'm going to go to Florida. I want to go to Florida. Let's go to Arizona. Let's go to Texas. Let's go to these markets. But those are heavy Sonic markets, a lot of franchisees. You know, well, what about Omaha? What did I say to the president of Sonic? Omaha's the last place I want to go, right?
Well, I was the same way. I was like, no, I don't want to go. It's cold there.
So the CEO says, hey, you know, this is an opportunity over here. That's the last place I want to go. It's cold weather. Nah, I don't want to go over there. So as fate would have it, we end up in Omaha. And I think it part of it, when you said Greg, is part of it's because of Greg Cutchall. We had visited with him. And there again, I said, you know, we can come into this deal and here's a proposal for you. And he wanted to stay in on it.
Right.
I think that was part of his his deal is he wanted to stay in at least as a 20% partner, and was able to come up. He had the wherewithal to do that and help us out getting into that.
Yep.
And he helped out.
How many people were bidding on the stores when you got them? Multiple people.
There was 2 or 3 buyers. I think there was 3 other buyers.
And the other buyers were like cash buyers.
They were cash buyers. They didn't and wanted to buy him out completely. I think the best part is he wanted we could come in with existing people, take care of his people, and utilize catch-all management here.
Their resources.
Right?
Yep.
Because I still pay them to use on their HR side. We incorporated a controller in our business. So we had a lot of things already put into place.
Yep.
Leverage.
Kind of like a using Keller Williams versus going on your own.
Right.
You got those resources.
Really good people.
Yeah, great people.
Yep.
Greg was a great partner, and I miss him. Yeah.
Yeah, Greg, because Greg, I feel like was kind of cool situation to see from the outside. Because when you think someone's selling their stores, if I remember correctly, at first he wanted to just be all done with it. Greg did. He was like, just sell it off. And you were like, I remember you saying, yeah, he's got like multiple people offering him more that are cash buyers. I wasn't a cash buyer. It'd have to be some kind of partnership of some sort. And then through just like your personal relationship with him was really, it seemed like the catalyst that changed his mind from, I don't say taking this cash buyer, I'll kind of take a flyer on this guy and I still be able to make money off it. This guy knows how to turn around restaurants.
Well, and
I think it was the personal side of it.
I remember sitting in the room with he and his partner at the time, and we're talking about different stuff. And we just, because when we're in the room talking to people, we can kind of feel each other and that sounded weird. I mean, like we know what we're thinking, read each other. That's a better word. And we we looked at each other and I was like, okay, I'm going to ask it if he didn't ask it. Because I said, the first thing I said was, do you have any debt on the business? And he goes, no, we don't. And then I said, and Bryant looked at me and he goes, well, would you want to stay in as a partner? And I feel like sometimes all you got to do is ask.
Yeah, totally.
And he goes, absolutely. I mean, there was no hesitation. And so it was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
We can figure something out, So I think a lot of times people don't ask the question. They're fearful to ask and you just need to ask. All they can do is say no,
Right.
So,
That's the way I try to when I was meeting girls.
Just ask.
Just, hey, I mean, the answer's always no until you ask. I got a lot of no's, but totally even after you ask, but only takes one. You mentioned family business and just kind of tying back to that. And then you also mentioned how important people is. How has the mindset, even though you don't have very much family involved in the business anymore, your daughter, how has that mindset folded forward into your culture and your guys' business?
Yeah, and I'd say we look at our business now as a family, and it's hard sometimes to look at it that way because we want to take care of people in a way that as business owners we can't. How should I say that? We can't overextend ourselves to where we're just taking care of every dynamic. Right? They're grown adults, but we've implemented a lot of benefits that we never thought we would be able to do. A really enhanced 401k plan and the same day pay and the things that to really try to create a culture that that people are happy with their work. We do a monthly profit share with them. We don't have Sonic model used to be based on partnerships. Individual store operators were operating partners, and so we kind of kept that model as an operating partner, but they don't necessarily have to go out and get a bank loan. It's a proprietorship, if you will, and we do literally a monthly profit share based on the bottom line profit. And keeping them, it allows them to generate more income, and in essence, makes them happy. And we want them to be happy. We want them to want to be there, want to stay, and. I guess that's, part of the family culture. And,
we care. We both care a lot about people, which can also be a fault, so, but I don't know. It's also, we have an obligation because we have debt on the business. We have to pay that back. So there is an obligation there and we have to take care of that. And, if something doesn't make sense, we just don't do it, but I think we're both pretty approachable.
Yeah, with the economy the way it's been lately, and we do have the debt on the business, it's been a very tough 18 months for us
has.
in our business, from purely from a cash flow perspective. And we had to buckle down on a few things and make sure, but our operating partners, our store managers feel it too. They feel that. And so it's, we're in it in the good times. We're in it in the tough times. We're together. I think that makes it important as a family, right?
Yep.
A couple of things, just kind of wrapping that thought up, was that I heard was you don't want to enable, but you definitely want to incentivize. Way different mindsets, right?
Yes.
And those are that's a fine line in there. You kind of talk about the economy. We obviously have seen a very vast kind of roller coaster the last, I would say, 5 years into now. What are your biggest concerns running a business, bottom line, people? Where's your mind going right now with things? Is it cost of goods? Is it cost of people? Is it finding people? What does that look like right now?
I could go on for an hour on that.
Seriously.
All of
I
the
literally
above.
could go on for an hour on that one. There's a lot of concerns. We have 2020 and 2021 were, it's kind of a weird thing because of the pandemic. In our business, especially in the Sonic business, it helped us.
Yeah.
We did very well, but we didn't have people. We were struggling to get people. We South Dakota, especially Sioux Falls, but South Dakota and Nebraska are two of the lowest unemployment states. They're always 1 through 3 or 4 in the nation, right?
Problem, yeah.
And people say, "Oh, it's a great place to live. It's low unemployment." Well, I got to have employees, right? And so what we've done is we've increased our pay scale dramatically, and we've gone up as much as 40% in the last 3 years on pay. We have, cost of goods. Cost of goods is probably our biggest struggle right now.
Okay.
We're up over 4% higher in costs, which affects us, and we're a very small percentage nickel and dime business, if you will.
And just to interject, just for people who might not know the food industry, the margins in food industry are very small.
It's like
Very
10%.
small.
I mean, food and grocery and service industry, there was very small margins of profit. So when you're talking 4%, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Could be half
Huge.
your bottom line.
Could,
really.
Yeah.
Just want
It's
to
huge.
highlight that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And our target is we target that in that 12% bottom line area. And now we're happy a lot of times to get between 7 and 8%.
Yeah.
On a bottom line profit. Wow. So, and it's with our markets in particular during the winter months, call it November through February or March, it's we struggle with that, and it's our
We save
sales
in the summer to inject in the winter.
Right.
So,
right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So coming out of COVID, everybody kind of dealt with it differently. You guys said it really enhanced the profit in your business. That people were definitely eating out a lot. Have you seen that maintain that? You've almost maybe gotten more customers that know Sonic now and like Sonic. Have you seen that stay steady or not a bit drop off?
That's a great question because we have seen the traffic drop off a bit because I think there was more options for people during, less options during 2020 and 2021. If you didn't want to be in contact with people, we were the perfect business for that. Right. You could pull up to a stall, you could go through the drive-through, and our competitors out there just had drive-through, and so traffic has dropped off, and our goal was we wanted to keep those people that weren't necessarily Sonic users or Sonic customers. We wanted to keep them in the business. So it's kind of a juggling act because we wanted to keep the store staffed well enough to service the guest, yet with the low unemployment and people were receiving government subsidies, they weren't out getting jobs. We couldn't find employees. There was a while that we went down to probably about 60% of our total capacity in employees.
Wow.
And so our employees were doing a lot more with a lot less. Our managers, our supervisors, were all doing more with less.
Were you actively communicating that and recognizing that the load had shifted? I mean, because I'm sure employees
To their
were feeling
employees?
that.
To their employees?
Oh,
What's
sure.
that communication like? Because nobody likes to think about, oh, I'm going to have to work a lot more. Nobody wants to hear that. But then it's in the you're actually in the middle of it. And now what's that communication like, that leadership role look like?
Constant.
Yeah.
No, you go ahead.
No, we had to bend a lot, right?
Yeah.
So,
Were we worried about if you were in your uniform properly? No, not
wow.
anymore.
So some
you know what I
standards
mean?
started
Like
to slip a little
we
bit.
did. We didn't have
Yeah.
a choice. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It was just like
That's
we
a
just
great
got to
point.
get stuff out the door and to
Interesting.
service the guests the best we could. We cut hours in some stores, which we didn't do a lot of that because I know some people would just shut down.
Right.
You know,
A lot of people.
but a lot of people did, but we did not. You know, even in our full service, we
we
did.
made some hour adjustments
Yep.
for people because we
Yep.
had to.
Yeah.
We didn't have the help,
Yeah.
Wow.
to be honest. So,
There was a store in Rapid City that to fully staff it needed about 50 people, and at one point during this they had like 9 people. In the
And that's
store.
not a 24-hour period. 50 people are on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
9 people on the whole store that worked there,
insane.
and so it was brutal. You know, there was a lot of that kind of stuff.
I know.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like a war.
So you have all these new
what we
customers, but
talked
you can't
about.
necessarily take care of them
Right.
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah.
You can, but not properly.
Right.
And you got to take care of your people. Like
Right.
that's what we worried about all the time.
And
It's
we
like,
always look at it as our guests are our people.
Your
I don't think
customers are your people.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
you know, if we can take care of them, they're going to take care of our guests. And so that's our biggest thing is to absolutely 100% find out what their needs are, take care of them the best we possibly can. And it's, you know, fast foods, especially fast food, has gotten the stigma. It's a burger flipper, you know, and it's a bad rap over the years.
Yeah.
When it's a great job, it's a great transition job for a lot of our people. We do hire 14 and 15-year-olds. We're very limited on what they can work, but for a lot of our kids, it's their first job, and it's a great job for them. We teach them. They've never held a broom in their life. They don't know how to use a broom. We teach them
or
how
even
to,
talk to somebody.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know, a
that's a big
customer. It's huge.
how to
learn
how to
life
open
skills.
up, and then we get kids coming back all the time. I mean, over the years, they're coming back and say, "I'm so thankful I worked for you," or you know, not me, but so thankful they worked here as my first job. I learned this and this and this and life skills.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to hear that because I don't think of it as life skills, but it is.
So
Right? Discipline.
you've taken an active role in really injecting your own view of how people should be treated, and it's just pouring into people and teaching them the right way to do things, right? And you've seen that kind of tenfold. I'll share a quick story of my first Sonic engagement. It still is in my brain to this day. I was probably 7 years old. I went to Grand Island, Nebraska for a car show with my dad and his best friend, and we had to get a burger. And Kearney is smaller than Grand Island, so we didn't have all the options that Grand Island had. And Grand Island had a Sonic, and my dad said, "Well, we're going to get a Sonic burger." And I'm like, "Oh, what's Sonic burger?" My dad was a big car lover, so I was part of the guys that day, you know, young. And I remember pulling into Sonic. I'm an old soul, so like this whole like car hop thing to me, I would see in movies. I just loved. I just like ate it up. Thought it was super cool. And then my dad and his best friend started telling stories about being at the car hop in the dine-ins back in the day,
Yeah.
and I was just like, I mean, just vivid imagery. And all of a sudden, then we had the person come out with the tray. They didn't have the they just had the button for the red light to come out. You couldn't order through the microphone yet. So they come out and take your,
Okay.
and so she was out there taking your order.
Okay.
And it was just super cool. And I remember getting that burger, and it was the flat patty that was like crispy on the edge, kind of the signature Sonic style, kind of bigger patty. I remember getting that burger, and it was so big in my hands, like best burger ever. This is a great experience. And I remember, you know, just us laughing in the car, and the politeness of the tenant or the person attending our vehicle. And from that day on, I've always had a super favorable view of Sonic, no matter what. And they've kind of ebb and flow with popularity nationally. But I still tell that story to my daughter. And this is 30 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just think it's super cool where people have, like you guys have seen this vehicle of Sonic helping people, serving people, you know, injecting your belief and love into the community. So I commend you guys. I love that you guys are keeping that tradition alive there, because it's really cool.
Yeah.
And we both grew up in Oklahoma. There was a Sonic in every small town. Sonic headquarters is Oklahoma City. And we had a Sonic in every small town. There was
Every
one
corner.
There's more Sonics than McDonald's in Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
In Texas.
In
And
Texas,
Texas.
there's more Sonics than there are like McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King combined.
Yeah.
Or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Tons of
And
Sonics.
so heavy Sonic. I had one 2 blocks from my high school. that I used to go through, and that was the end of the cruise strip where we'd cruise around in the Sonic. And I tell the story a lot to people. They're like, what was your first experience at Sonic? I'm like, I used to get kicked out of it a lot when I was a kid. The manager would kick me out. So, what comes around goes around, right? Yeah. So consequently, here I am.
Yeah.
And I haven't kicked any kids out.
No, yeah.
You mentioned 7 years and growth. You said 17 stores?
Yeah.
And you started with one, or what was your initial entry? 3.
Start with 3.
3 to 17. How many employees?
So we have roughly, during the peak season, we're a little over 500
Wow.
employees.
500.
Right now we're in that
down.
300 range, 320. And we
have
grow
a lot of
quite
high
a bit
schoolers
during
in the
spring and
summer.
summer.
For
That's
sure,
why.
seasonal
Yeah.
employee. And then how
Seasonal.
many? What's the percentage of those 3 to 500 are hourly versus salary?
Not very many salary.
There's not very many
because you have those are the controller people.
1 or 2 per store.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just get an idea of scope of the business.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, kind of changing. With that, how influential or how important is to have those salary employees rowing in the same direction? Like, what's that like? Like finding those people to manage these hourly employees that are more seasonal, more transitional. How hard is that? Or what's that look like?
It's difficult.
It is difficult.
Yeah, to find the right one.
That's the issue,
We
I think.
we have a lot of seasoned, I'd say, well, it's not a majority anymore, but we had a lot of seasoned folks.
Say half.
About half. But we really like the young energy when they come in and they want that title. They want that role.
They're
and
eager.
to move up. We would love to promote from within and bring kids up. We have 2 young ladies in Rapid City that started with us when they were 14. And then thinking about Mike's daughter and a few others that started when they were 14. Now they're going to be general managers.
Oh, cool.
And so it's great to see that and that progression, and they want to do it.
Yeah.
They love it. They love the
But they want to do it because of what they've seen from their leadership.
That's
So
right. That's exactly right.
Otherwise, they wouldn't want
That's
to do
exactly
it.
right.
Like Lizzie, my sister, she's probably like their
Yeah, they love
I
her.
look up to her.
Yeah, they love her.
What have you seen that has been when you guys go through this hiring process? Do you guys do a lot of yourself? Do you have a company that helps you with it? Like outsource it? What's that look like?
So we have we do it ourselves. We do a lot of yesterday we had a job fair at a high school in Rapid City that my daughter was doing at a job fair.
Yeah.
So we do job fairs. We do we're on all the online platforms, the Indeed, the ZipRecruiter, and so on and so forth. Then a Zippy app, and then we have it's the in-person interviews, it's the at the store job
And we have,
fairs.
like, for management, we have somebody that screens.
Yeah, screens.
And we have one person. We have one person here locally that is a part-time. She has a full-time job, but starting at 5 o'clock at night, she has a list that she goes through of all the apps and starts going through them and assigns those. That's all she does for us.
Yeah.
And she assigns those interviews to the general managers for the next day. A lot of times our managers don't have time. They're working managers and they don't have time to get on the phone and start calling people or texting or however you do that now.
What are some of the favorite qualities that you've seen that have been very successful that you like to partner with as employees or partnerships? Like, what are some of the things you mentioned? Trust as one.
Huge loyalty.
Trust is given, but also earned, right?
Loyalty.
Yeah.
Right.
Loyalty is huge for us.
Beyond that, some of these things that kind of lead into those bigger type. What are some of the things you guys see that you guys really hold dear?
I think I could just from
Look at her.
I know I'm
seeing
sitting
from
here
the
thinking,
outside, there's a lot of intangibles
Yeah.
that you have to look out for. And the intangibles are not always, you can't always see them for a while.
yeah.
Like it takes hiring. I heard somebody talk about this once. He's like, everything you can read, everything on hiring, make them take a bunch of personality exams. And 50% of the time, the people you think are going to be awesome are horrible.
Yeah.
And the people you think are going to be horrible turn out being awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of it's like you can't really tell until they get in there and do it.
But I think those core things, like we were talking about with, the trust and the loyalty, you can feel that with somebody.
Totally.
You can feel that. You have to kind of go with your
You
gut
can
on
be
that.
loyal and
You
trustworthy and be
can
horrible.
teach them to do other things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I feel like as long as there's those core, and that's, I don't want to say upbringing because that's not necessarily true. It's influences they've had that have made them more that way and a true leader, right? So I think you can teach all the other things.
Cool.
You can teach a lot. You can't teach personality. Each
No.
one of our you have to manage people to their personality because they're going to be a little different, right? This isn't the military.
Yeah.
And where you have to manage people kind of you walk into one drive-in or one restaurant, it's going to be different than the next one, their personality.
Yeah.
So
I think you have to be real too.
Absolutely.
We're very real with our people. Like we're not going to
sugarcoat.
We are who we are. We're
And
not
follow
fake.
through on things you say you're going to do.
Yep, you got to do
That's a
that.
big deal.
For sure.
I think, we sound like we're tooting our own horn, but it's, everybody makes mistakes. We've made plenty of mistakes.
All the time.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, but we're just who we are.
And
we're
we've
not.
learned from those mistakes, and you continue to learn from mistakes. You have to. If you ever think you've arrived and I've done it, I'm a good leader. No, you're still learning. You're always learning. You're always picking up on new traits and new things.
You guys had a kind of changing gears, a tragic incident a couple of years ago with a shooting at one of your stores. I knew you guys then, and that was a big thing in the community. Talking about in terms of the people aspect of that, not the incident itself, but where was your people at after that happened, and how did you guys approach that and kind of go at that situation, that tragic incident?
We have some great leaders, and we came together. It kind of brought us really close together. I think about the guys that arrived first on scene. I was actually in Rapid City at the time, jumped on a plane as quick as I could, but we had the day after, the morning after, we were at the site when the police turned it over to us. And it was just the camaraderie of how do we come together and love and nurture each other through it, because we had to. We're going to make it through this somehow. I still think about the families. I still think about every single day. I think about those kids and that were involved in that. And it's a difficult situation, but I feel like that we're stronger because of it afterwards. I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, but I think about our director of operations, Brian, and Bruce, and Daryl, and Kevin, that all chipped in and really made this, special. And Diane,
the community,
and the community, and Diane.
We were so supported by the community that was
absolutely 100%.
We will always be indebted to the community for that. I mean, we're so grateful for it. The firemen that were involved, the policemen, the first responders,
excellent.
all of them, just the kindness, and then the neighboring businesses, the kindness there, even the news, we were so grateful for that. Just giving us space, because it wasn't about us. It was about them, and I remember the night it happened, and Mariah, I forgot to say this, our oldest son, his wife is our assistant, so she works for us too. And she was like, we need to set up a GoFundMe page. We need to get counseling for people. Cause we were just like in such shock. Yeah. And Christian was there, I remember
the night because our whole family gets together once a year. Basically that's it. Cause we're all kind of spread out. And we had all of us got to Rapid City. All of the kids were playing board games on the table. And then my dad got a call. You can just feel things sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
My dad gets the call. All of us just kind of like stop. My dad's like white in the face. Because I think Brian called you.
Yeah, he did.
He was telling you what was happening. Yeah. And then my mom goes, oh my God, what happened? And then that's just kind of how everything just spiraled. And yeah, it was crazy.
It was intense.
It was a weird feeling. The whole room, you could feel it. We didn't even know what happened yet. We knew something horrible had happened.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have never thought it would have been that horrible though.
No, I
could have never imagined.
It was
something
terrible.
Horrible,
right.
At a Sonic, like what? Yeah.
Yeah. I know.
It was shocking.
So there's a quote, you don't rise to the occasion, but you fall back on your strongest training or your strongest traits. What did you guys personally lean on during that time, and what kind of showed through to your staff and stuff during that time?
Oh Lord God.
Loving people.
And loving on people. I mean, when we got here, I remember the supervisors saying to us, we were always trying to figure out why you guys came to Omaha and why you bought the stores. And they said, now we know.
It gave me chills.
That God brought you here, to help us through this.
That's awesome.
And I remember that because it was just like, because that's not, you never think about something like that, you
Right.
know? So, yeah, it was intense. Really,
You know, love
intense.
and kindness and caring and all those things got us through it. And we, in the community, like you said, they came around us, and I think of Mark Ashton at Christ Community reached out to me
Yes.
every day
We were so
for
grateful for
3
that.
weeks
It's
solid.
awesome.
Wow.
How are you doing?
Yeah. Because we had gotten to know him prior.
Yeah.
A lot of little things I feel like God just lined up. Marianne O'Brien at OBI Creative, we had met her a couple months prior, and she just happened to mention, hey, if you ever need anything for social media, or not social media,
Marketing.
if you need
HR.
anything for, if to answer for press for you, if you have something come up and you don't want to comment on press. And I was like, I'm never going to need that. I'm not that important. And then, you know, so immediately I called her, and they were very gracious to help us and assist with talking to the news media or anybody like that. So we didn't have to deal with that, you know? So, just little things like that I just know God lined up, you know?
Would you
There's
say
no
it also
doubt.
solidified some relationships that you didn't think were as strong as they were?
You know what's funny about that? You said that. I was just thinking that because it brought me closer to solidifying relationships with my director of operations, people that I just met in the community that reached out to me. John Hoych, good friend.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
It's
Yeah,
awesome,
for
actually.
sure.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I know that's not easy to talk about. I appreciate
No.
that.
No.
I guess one last question kind of that I was thinking about. I was like, what's next? So you guys are
I
here.
was just about to say that too. Okay.
Family, business, they are your family. The people, like what have the Morrisons arrived and we're just kind of coasting? What's your guys' vision for the next few years?
Amy would say, hell no.
Push the pedal to the metal.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
We are looking, we have another concept that we're
Yeah.
going to bring to the market probably in the next year. We don't want to talk about it yet,
Understandable.
but we do have
It's a
another
strip club, so
concept.
it'll be. I'm
Oh gosh, dear Lord.
I'm just-
And then we constantly, weirdly, have people reach out to us to help them with their business. They want to talk to us. How do even stuff we don't even do? And so we do talk to people all the time, about smaller
Yeah, and it's
partnerships to
kinda
guide people,
consulting.
Mentorship.
kind of
Mentorship.
consulting, but we don't do really well with just consulting. We feel better if we have a piece of the pie
You're hands-on people.
because we're hands-on people.
Yeah.
So it's weird to say, well, we get so much a month consulting.
Right,
That's
yeah.
great that people can do that, but we won't feel it the same way. We won't dive into it the same
It's
way.
definitely not about the
Yeah.
money side of it.
No.
That side of it.
So new concept coming.
Yeah,
Maybe some more Sonic stores, looking up some more markets.
maybe.
Maybe.
We are tired of moving. I will say that we've
No, we're
moved.
not
Well, you
Maybe.
did buy a house, I heard. So
Yes, we
We're
did
not
buy
gonna
a
move.
house.
So that's good.
Although we have one in South Dakota, that's our state.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we did. Poor Tyson.
I know.
I feel so bad.
Oh, it's all good. That's why we can joke about it.
But yeah, I want to move forward.
Yeah. There's more. There's more there.
There's more there.
That's awesome.
A lot
Yeah.
of opportunities in Omaha too. Omaha's
Yeah.
a great
Well,
city.
and Tom Brady, obviously he's had a great career football player, but he's mentioned somebody's like, "Why do you keep playing?" He's like, "Why would I stop playing? And I'm the smartest I've ever been at this
Yeah.
profession.
yeah,
Why would I stop now?" And that's kind of what I'm hearing from you guys. Like, we've learned so much. We
Yeah,
are
that's a good point.
just
Just
starting,
starting.
what we have a capability to do,
Yeah.
and now it's just about finding the right people, leverage. That's pretty cool,
And we have people who want to grow.
right?
Yeah, and I was going to say that's probably the bigger piece of it is
Yeah.
we have people that are with us that want to grow
Yeah.
and
problem.
that want to do other things. So it's we can't put our brakes on because we've got those people that want to grow and do other things.
yeah.
One other question I had. So in the franchise industry of food service, is there some other franchises that you're like, man, I look up to how they handle things. I don't want to buy. I don't want that franchise.
Yeah.
But I really
Chick-fil-A.
look up how they do.
100%.
That.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Chick-fil-A.
dear Lord.
Chick-fil-A's
Sure.
okay. Yeah.
Even
There we go.
McDonald's. McDonald's handled themselves supreme during the pandemic because they scaled down their menu. They
Yeah.
made things simpler so
Yeah.
it'd be faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Add
sure.
a lot of automation.
Yeah.
I will tell
And
you.
McDonald's, they did a great job.
Hey, they do though. I mean,
They've got
I think it's great.
Yeah, we aspire a lot of times. We're like, how can we be? We got to remember who we are, though. Our
Yeah.
core
Yes.
is that we're
It's
Sonic
Stated.
Drive-In.
Love that.
We're in that. It hasn't changed since 1953.
Mm-hmm.
Our model of car hop. By the way, do you know where the term car hop came from?
Right.
So in the 50s, the running boards were on the side of the cars, right? And the windows were very small, so they had to hop up on the running board.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, I love
That's where
that.
the name Car Hop
Oh,
came
that's
from.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Now you could be sued for that, but
True.
But yes, staying to our core. Although when I look at them, I envy a lot of times what they're doing, what they can do with their operations.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for your time,
Oh man, this
coming
is
here.
so fun.
talking about everything. So
Yeah.
this is a great first podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great vulnerability
Cool.
and great
Yeah.
guest. You know,
Yeah.
they're going to love you regardless of how this went, which is good.
Yeah, that is a good call.
You know.
Thank God. You not so much, Tyson.
we love you too, Tyson.
Do you have our check? Is what I'm
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Tyson's actually paying you, even though you didn't use him by your house. Still gonna pay you for it. But, no, well, thank you guys for your time, and time's valuable. So
Thank you so much, guys. Have a
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
Best of luck in 2023 too. I'm excited for you guys.
we're excited for your new concept.
Yeah,
we'll be there a
Can't wait
lot.
to hear about it.
We'll do the next podcast inside the new concept.
There you go.
Oh, so
Nice.
so it is physical. That's good.
Yeah.
One step closer.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there's poles and dancers. So
my
Yeah, you got physical. A lot of physicality.
Family,
a lot
like
of
a family establishment. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, thanks
All right.
very much, guys.
See you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the podcast. Really appreciate it. As always, if you got any real estate related things that you need, this show is fully sponsored by our personal real estate business. Hit below where it says schedule a call with us, get on our personal calendars, call, text, email us, whatever's best for you. Happy to help you in any way we can on the real estate side of things. Thanks guys. Peace.